Genius Kids. Cultivating love for learning.
Chapter 12. Plant Reproduction. Knowledge Acquisition. Reproduction is the ability of living organisms to produce young ones that are exactly similar to them. Reproduction in plants is basically of two types: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Discussion. Jack, reproduction? Susie, Jack. Listen to me, I'll explain you how a gardener multiplies 10 rose plants from a single plant. How a rose bud is formed? Jack, you mean you know how flower comes on a plant? Susie, yes. Of course. Jack, please. Do teach me. Reproduction. Definition. It is the ability of an organism to produce young ones that are exactly similar to them. Types of reproduction. There are principally two types of reproduction. 1. Asexual reproduction. This is that kind of reproduction that does not involve sex organs. It involves only a single parent. Seed formation doesn't occur in asexual reproduction. Types of asexual reproduction include 1. Binary fission. Definition. The process of division of parent body into two equal-sized daughter cells under favorable conditions of food and moisture is called binary fission. Example of organisms in which binary fission occurs include bacteria, fungi, and algae. 2. Spore formation. Definition. It is a process of formation of numerous spores by a single parent plant. Spores are microscopic on size and are covered by hard protective coat which helps them to withstand harsh environmental conditions. Example of plants in which spore formation is a common mode of asexual reproduction include ferns, mosses, lichens, and fungi. 3. Fragmentation. Definition. Process of division of parent plant into pieces whereby each piece gives rise to a new plant. Plants showing asexual reproduction by fragmentation include mosses, algae, and pond silk, Spirogyra. Plants like algae, in favorable conditions, grow and multiply rapidly by fragmentation. 4. Budding. Definition. It is a process of formation of a bud, small projection, on parent body followed by its development to form a young one. And finally it detaches from plant or the parent body. Bud formation is common among organisms like yeast. 5. Vegetative reproduction. Definition. It is that mode of reproduction in which new plants arise from the vegetative parts, root, stem, leaf, etc., of the parent plant. Methods of vegetative reproduction. There are two methods of vegetative reproduction. A. Natural methods. Natural methods of vegetative reproduction or propagation include those that are developed naturally. They include propagation. 1. By roots. Adventitious buds of roots give rise to new plants. This method is common in dahlia, guava, sweet potato. 2. By stems. This type of vegetative reproduction occurs in the following stems. Tuber. It is a stem that can store food. It has some depressions called eyes which poses buds. These buds give rise to new plants. For example, potato. Rhizome. It is an underground fleshy stem with nodes, internodes, and buds. These buds give rise to new plants. For example, ginger, banana, and turmeric have rhizomes. Bulbs. These are combination of underground stem and modified leaves that store food. They are underground stems encased in thick fleshy bulb scales arising from modified leaves. Bulbs serve as a mode of reproduction in onions. One-dot runners. These are horizontal stems containing nodes. These nodes give rise to new plants. It is a common method of reproduction in oxalis and grass. 2. Corm. Corm is a condensed underground stem bearing buds. These buds give rise to new plants, for example in Colocasia and Gladiolus. 3. By leaves. Margins of some leaves develop buds. These buds give rise to young ones or new plants when leaf falls, for example in Bryophyllum, Begonia and Lilium. Roots of some plants can also give rise to new plants. Sweet potato and dahlia are main examples. Plants such as kochi produce new plants when their parts get detached from the main plant body. Each detached part can grow into a new plant. B. Artificial methods. Artificial methods of vegetative propagation include those that are developed by plant breeders. They include 1. Cutting. A part of stem is cut and planted into soil to give rise to a new plant. This method is practiced for rose, coleus, sugarcane, cactus, etc. 2. Layering. This method is used for jasmine, strawberry and bougainvillea. In this method, the lowermost branch is bent and buried in soil, keeping its upper portion above the ground. Soon the buried portion develops the roots and emerges as an independent plant. 3. Grafting. It uses a combination of two plants. The plant from which root part is taken is called stalk and the plant from which shoot portion is taken is called scion. It is the plant that needs to be propagated. The grafting ends of both are cut obliquely and then they are tied up tightly. This procedure is common among ornamental plants and fruits. Plants produced by vegetative reproduction take less time to grow and bear flowers and fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. 4. Tissue culture. Technique of developing a complete plant from any of its meristematic tissues under artificial conditions is called tissue culture. 2. Sexual reproduction. This is a kind of reproduction that involves syngamy, that is the fusion of male and female gametes to form a zygote. It involves both male and female parent. Seed formation takes place in this kind of reproduction. 1. Flower. The reproductive organ that plants have flowers. They serve as reproductive organ. They comprise of male and female parts. If a single flower consists of both male and female part, it is called monoecious or bisexual, and if male and female parts of a flower are on different plants, they are called dioecious or unisexual. Critical thinking. Vegetative propagation is advantageous because it produces identical progeny. It is quick, economical, and can be applied onto different plants. The limitation of asexual reproduction is that variability is hampered. No new varieties can be produced by this method of reproduction. A. Parts of a flower. Sepals, green whorls of a flower. Petals, colored whorls of a flower. Andrecium or stamen. Male reproductive part of the flower. It consists of stalk called filament and two-lobed anther. Anther, in turn, possesses pollen grains that produce male gametes. Gynoecium or carpel. Female reproductive part of a flower. It consists of stigma, style and ovary. Ovary, in turn, has ovule. Ovule contains female gamete or egg. 2. Pollination and fertilization. Pollination is the process of transfer of the pollen grains from anther of stamen of a flower to stigma of carpel of same or another flower. Pollination including the same flower is called autogamy or self-pollination, and that including a different flower is called allogamy or cross-pollination. Pollen grains can be transferred by wind or insects or birds, etc. Fertilization. It is the process of fusion of male and female gametes to form a zygote. This process takes place inside the ovary of gynoecium. Process of fertilization. After pollination, pollen grains germinate to form pollen tube that carries male gamete through the style. Pollen tube. Pollen tube then enters into the ovary followed by its entry into the ovule. Fusion of male and female gametes occurs then. Zygote is formed. Embryo is formed by repetitive division. 3. Fruit and seed formation. Ripened ovule forms the seeds. Seed consists of seed coat and the embryo. Embryo gives rise to a new plant on germination of seed. Ripened ovary forms the fruit. Fruit consists of 3 layers called epicarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. Endocarp is stony whereas mesocarp is fleshy. Epicarp forms the outer skin of a fruit. Critical thinking. Do you know that seeds of some plants are such source of minerals and vitamins for humans as well as can be eaten raw? Examples of such plants are sunflower, pumpkin, sesame, etc. Continuous review. Reproduction is the ability of organisms to produce identical new young ones. Reproduction can be of 2 types: sexual and asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is the one that involves only a single parent, whereas sexual reproduction involves both the parents. Asexual reproduction can take place by several different means: fragmentation, budding, spore formation, fission, vegetative propagation, etc.
Like, share and subscribe.